Good morning from Asakusa, Tokyo. As you can see behind me is the Sky Tree, famous landmark here in Tokyo. We've had a wonderful vacation as a family together. We've had great adventures that I'll express more when we get back to Taiwan. And so one of the things that I'm going to do today is that we said we were going to have one more lesson from Teachings for Victory, Volume 6, which was the one-eyed turtle and floating log. We'll be doing that this weekend. But before we leave Japan, I wanted to get what I found to be surprise chapter 9. It's not even listed in the beginning. And it's really all about all of us. Those of you who listen to what I read or watch these videos, this is really to every single one of us that considers themselves bodhisattvas of the earth with a mission for Kosen-rufu. It's chapter 9 of volume 6. It's from President Ikeda. It's a very personal expression of his that I want to share with all of you. It's called Uniting with Eternal Friends. As I've said many times, we should understand we are the original disciples of the original teacher. This is the key to our faith as Soka members. And so let me start on page 117 of volume 6 on a beautiful sunny day here in Asakusa and read to you what President Ikeda's message is. It says, Glorious May 3rd, Soka Gakkai Day, page 117, first column. It is the day when Soka mentors and disciples, comrades from time without beginning, Kuon-ganjo, set forth boldly, burning with the vow of bodhisattvas of the earth to realize worldwide Kosen-rufu, because really that's what we're here to do. Eternal friends in faith gather joyfully with their mentor, showing brilliant actual proof of victory in their places of mission. So each one of us in the distinct area in which we live has a mission to accomplish with our life, in our lifetime. This day, May 3rd, is forever both a proud triumphal return and a fresh departure from which we advance toward the distant future with vibrant, powerful life force and cheerful unity. Each year, when May 3rd arrives, I recall the solemn vow I made on this day in 1951, the day that my mentor, Josei Toda, was inaugurated as the Soka Gakkai's second president. He stood up to realize the great vow for Kosen-rufu, and his disciples and successors stood up with him. That's us. Mr. Toda later presented me with a photograph that had been taken of him to commemorate his inauguration. On the back of it, he had written the following poem for me. Now and in the future too, together, sharing joys and sufferings. How wondrous our connection. The Lotus Sutra refers to the eternal karmic ties shared by mentors and disciples in the realm of Buddhism, stating, those persons who had heard the law dwelled here and there in various Buddha lands, constantly reborn in the company with their teachers. That's from the Teacher of the Law chapter. He says, eternal bonds of mentor and disciple, second column, in the middle, last paragraph. Mentors and disciples dedicated to the widespread propagation of the law are always together throughout the cycle of birth and death, across the three existences of past, present, and future, bathed in the light of the mystic law from time without beginning. Again, that's Kuon-ganjo, or Kuon. Striving side by side for Kosen-rufu, they share joys and sorrows, overcoming hardships, and achieve victory together. Page 118, first column. In accord with the words in the future too, together, which Mr. Toda solemnly imparted to me in this poem, I followed the same path as my mentor and became the third Soka Gakkai president on May 3rd, 1960, carrying on his great vow for Kosen-rufu. Even at this present moment, my mentor's vow beats powerfully in my heart as my own. Kosen-rufu is the struggle to ensure that the brilliant light of the mystic law endures forever and to help all people attain enlightenment. Naturally, it is an endeavor that cannot be achieved in a single lifetime. For that very reason, we must ensure that the Lotus Sutra's fundamental aim of leading all living beings to the Buddha way is never lost, but passed on to future generations. The path of mentor and disciple is dedicated to keeping alive this essential wish of the Buddha, the widespread propagation of the mystic law, securely passing on the baton of this lofty cause from one runner to the next. The great vow for Kosen-rufu can be fulfilled only through the correct teaching of Buddhism being transmitted from mentor to disciple. In this chapter, bottom of first column, page 118, in this chapter, let us once again study the famous passage on unity from Nichiren Daishonen's The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life, and reconfirm the foundation of victory for our movement, namely, winning through faith, based on the oneness of mentor and disciple and the solid unity of many in body, one in mind. Second column, page 118. Create an epic drama of the brilliant victory of the people from the Gosho. All disciples and lay supporters of Nichiren should chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with the spirit of many in body but one in mind, transcending all differences among themselves to become as inseparable as fish and water and the water in which they swim. This spiritual bond is the basis for the universal transmission of the ultimate law of life and death. Herein lies the true goal of Nichiren's propagation. When you are so united, even the great desire for widespread propagation can be fulfilled. But if any of Nichiren's disciples disrupt the unity of many in body but one in mind, they would be like warriors who destroy their own castle from within. From page 217 of the Writings of Nichiren Daishonin, Volume 1. We have studied, President Ikeda goes on second column, bottom. We have studied this passage many times. It contains a crucial teaching, the heart of which the mentors and disciples of Soka have thoroughly grasped and translated into practice. Compelling proof of this is found in We of the Soka Gakkai, spreading the mystic law to 192 countries and territories around the world, thus actualizing the great vow for Kosen-rufu. In this passage, we find the phrase, all disciples and lay supporters of Nichiren. The path of mentor and disciple directly linked to Nichiren Daishonin is the central axis of our Buddhist practice, and as such, the foundation for everything. The heritage of the ultimate law of life and death is the heritage to be passed on to all living beings, with the aim of enabling everyone to attain enlightenment. Nichiren Daishonin made available to all people the heritage of the mystic law that Shakyamuni entrusted to Bodhisattva superior practices. Our Buddhist practice dedicated to the realization of Kosen-rufu based on the oneness of mentor and disciple is the key that allows us to share the heritage and attain Buddhahood. The heritage of the law is passed on only through the actions of mentor and disciple. There is no separate, mysterious, or secretive transmission of the law, as the priesthood would tell you. At the same time, an organization united in faith, based on the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is absolutely necessary for all people to solidify their Buddhist practice and to enable countless others throughout the world and into the future to transform their karma and carry out their human revolution. When we unite together with the same spirit as our mentor, as disciples who share our mentor's heart and strive with our fellow members in unity of purpose, the heritage of the ultimate law of life and death can be transmitted to all people. That's why the great vow of Kosen-rufu can be achieved only through the combination of practical efforts based on the oneness of mentor and disciple in a united organization whose members strive together in the spirit of many in body, one in mind. Top of page 119, second column. With this unshakable and indestructible spiritual pillar at its core, the beautiful unity of comrades in faith expands outward in concentric circles. Indeed, with the spirit of the oneness of mentor and disciple, the unity of many in body, one in mind, as the vertical and horizontal threads, we of the SGI are weaving an epic drama of the brilliant victory of the people. Continuing, 119, second column, the harmonious community of practitioners. our Soka organization is incredibly important as far as Buddhism is concerned. Responding to an interrogator during his wartime imprisonment for his beliefs, founding president Tetsuburo Makaguchi declared that the Soka Kyoiku Gakkai, literally value creating education society, forerunner of the Soka Gakkai, was not like a Buddhist temple that was operated by professional clergy. Rather, it was an independent, faith-based lay organization that existed in its own right. Mr. Makaguchi conceived the Gakkai as an organization that, in the midst of the evil age of the latter day, would be dedicated to propagating the mystic law, transforming society, and engaging in positive, life-enhancing value creation. Unable to withstand the harsh persecution of the militarist authorities during World War II, however, the majority of the Soka Gakkai's leaders abandoned their faith. Page 120, first column. In the misery and confusion of wartime, the membership dispersed and the organization virtually collapsed. In July 1945, just before the war's end, Mr. Toda emerged from his solitary struggle in prison. On his release, he immediately set about to rebuilding the organization. The painful lessons of the war years spurred him to forge an invincible organization of the people that would keep striving for Kosen-rufu, no matter what kind of persecution it faced, would keep on striving for widespread propagation, no matter what kind of persecution it faced. He was determined to succeed this time without fail. Mr. Toda clearly recognized that when courageous disciples stood up as individuals with the same commitment and faith as their mentor, whatever the time or place, they would open the way forward for Kosen-rufu and harmonious gatherings of practitioners. The disciples and lay practitioners of Nichiren would form around them. Continuing 120, page first column, establishing the path of mentor and disciple. Mr. Toda gave me one-to-one lectures on the heritage of the ultimate law of life. I have a particularly vivid memory of a study session we had together in the busy year-end period of December 1950, a time when Mr. Toda's businesses were in their worst state of crisis. Mr. Toda had stepped down from his position as the Soka Gakkai's general director in order to protect the organization from his personal business problems. And he was waiting for the time when he could freely undertake his great mission for Kosen-rufu. But people were unaware of his profound resolve. He was subjected to a barrage of criticism. He was subjected to a barrage of criticism from people within the organization, on top of what he already had faced from the public because of his business situation. I also remember copying down in my diary at the start of January 1951, this famous passage we're studying, determined to etch it into my life. This was during a critical moment of our movement when the mentor and disciples who had embarked on rebuilding the organization after World War II were faced with the question of whether they could once again surmount great persecution. At that time, I vowed to make the way of mentor and disciple the eternal way of the Gakkai. Middle of second column, page 120. The most important theme of the Lotus Sutra is the entrustment of the vow and mission to propagate the mystic law. From the teacher of time without beginning, Nichiren, to the disciples of time without beginning, all of us as bodhisattvas of the earth. We of the SGI embody this principle of mentor and disciple now in the latter day of the law, and we have emerged to carry out the great vow for Kosen-rufu, the cherished wish of Shakyamuni and Nichiren Daishonin. Having overcome great obstacles, Mr. Toda was finally inaugurated as the second president. He then immediately undertook the most important step, giving new structure to the Soka Gakkai. The headline, Establishment of an Organization for the Happiness of Humanity, danced boldly across the front page, top of page 121, of the Soka Gakkai's newly launched newspaper, the Seikyo Shimbun. which we just stood in front of the huge Seikyo Shimbun building in Shinanomachi. At the time, there were only about 3,000 members. But it wasn't a matter of the numbers. Mr. Toda was firmly convinced that a force of people, united in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, for the sake of Kosen-rufu, was certain to fulfill its great and historic mission. I'm reminded of a conviction voiced by the Indian independence leader Mahatma Gandhi. A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history. And all my BSG friends know that to be the case, as you live in independent democratic India. Our organization, the Soka, dedicated to the victory of the people, whose members share an unquenchable faith in their noble mission to fulfill the great vow of Kosen-rufu, has indeed changed the course of history. Middle of first column, page 121, a gathering of good friends practicing Buddhism together. Mr. Toda declared that the Soka Gakkai organization was more important to him than his own life. Its significance in terms of Buddhism is that of the Sangha of the present day, the harmonious community of believers who practice the correct teaching of the Buddha. To preserve and transmit the correct teaching eternally into the future, there must be people who uphold it and pass it on to others. That's you and I. Top of second column, page 121. In other words, there must be an organization. During Shakyamuni's lifetime, a community of believers formed around him. Ananda, who was known as foremost in hearing the Buddha's teachings, once asked Shakyamuni, "It seems to me that by having good friends and advancing together with them, one has already halfway attained the Buddha way. Is this way of thinking correct?" Shakyamuni replied, "Ananda, this way of thinking is not correct. Having good friends and advancing together with them is not half the Buddha way, but all the Buddha way." Shakyamuni continued, "Consider this, Ananda. It is not so that by taking me as their good friend, people are able to liberate themselves from the suffering of birth, aging, Is it not so that by taking me as their good friend, people are able to liberate themselves from the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death? As one can conclude from this, having good friends and advancing together with them constitutes not half the Buddha way, but all the Buddha way. This teaches us that making the path of mentor and disciple our foundation and living out our lives together with good friends, our fellow members in faith, is the way to overcome the sufferings inherent in the human condition. In the SGI, we refer to this as the oneness of mentor and disciple and the unity of many in body, one in mind, shared by fellow practitioners. The same Buddhist scripture describes Shakyamuni's disciple Shariputra, who was known as the foremost in wisdom, saying with deep feeling on another occasion, as if to reconfirm, top of page 122, the conclusion reached by Shakyamuni and Ananda, "My teacher, being together with good friends, good comrades, is all of the Buddha way." Shakyamuni rejoiced at Shariputra's words, stressing once more that advancing with good friends is all the Buddha way. Shakyamuni placed the highest value on the bonds linking fellow practitioners. The gathering of teacher and disciples and of good friends in faith is the harmonious community of believers, also known as the invincible Sangha. Shakyamuni's community of believers was open to all people, to the world. He warmly welcomed those who joined this community, showing them the greatest respect, never discriminating against anyone on account of class or social status. The ideal realm of Buddhism is one where everyone respects and encourages one another based on warm, heart-to-heart ties of caring and understanding. Disrupting the harmonious community of believers is nothing other than closing off and destroying one's own path to Buddhahood. It is the action of worms born from the body of the lion itself feed on the lion. or warriors who destroy their own castle from within. Second column, page 122, and I'm sorry I'm sniffling, it's cold outside. Unity is the power of victory. Second column, page 122. Being united in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is the foundation of the invincible Sangha. Such unity is the driving force for victory. It goes without saying that this is true in many fields. Thomas Paine, the pamphleteer who played a key role in the American Revolution, wrote, "It is not in numbers, but in unity that our great strength lies." The unity of many in body, one in mind, based on faith, dedicated to realizing Kosen-rufu, is the strategy that ensures absolute victory. Let us thoroughly safeguard the SGI, our invincible bastion of the people, and forever continue winning victory after victory. In the indelible words of Nichiren Daishonin, if the spirit of many in body but one in mind prevails among the people, they will achieve all their goals. Whereas if one in body but different in mind, they can achieve nothing remarkable. Although Nichiren and his followers are few, because they are different in body but united in mind, they will definitely accomplish their great mission of widely propagating the Lotus Sutra. This formula for victory remains unchanged today. Top of the first column, page 123. Respecting one another as Buddhas. We are, however, a gathering of human beings, of ordinary people of the latter day. Just calling for unity doesn't mean that we can easily get people to unite. The reality of human society is that there will always be people we don't like or just don't get along with. That's why it's important to not get carried away by momentary emotions, but instead to make a conscious effort to work together and to strive for unity. The correct path of the wise lies in not becoming mired in arrogance and prejudice. The Daishonin repeatedly offered advice to his follower Shijo Kingo, who, while having a strong sense of right and wrong, tended to be short-tempered and unable to hide his emotions. In one letter, he writes about the importance of Kingo maintaining good relations with those around him, saying, "However disagreeable it may be to you, you should associate with them amicably. Always maintain friendly relations with them." In another letter, the 14 Slanders, he writes, "Always remember that believers in the Lotus Sutra should absolutely be the last to abuse one another. All those who keep faith in the Lotus Sutra are most certainly Buddhas, and one who slanders a Buddha commits a grave offense. If someone proclaims even a single verse or phrase of the Lotus Sutra, you must respect him as you would the Buddha. This is what the sutra means when it says you should rise and greet him from afar, showing him the same respect you would a Buddha," from WND 1, page 756 and 757. This is continuing, President Keita, second column, 123. This is very important guidance we should always bear in mind. All those who keep faith in the Lotus Sutra are most certainly Buddhas. Buddhas do not argue with or speak ill of one another. As human beings, we can polish and develop ourselves only among other human beings. To always go out among the people is the vow of Mahayana Buddhists. It is the practice for overcoming self-centeredness and growing and developing as a person. We are bodhisattvas. That's what that is. That's from the Mahayana teachings. Genuine champions, middle of page 123, second column. Genuine champions who take personal initiative for Kosen-rufu. Since the time of my youth, I have engraved in my heart the following words of Nichiren Daishonin while exerting myself for Kosen-rufu. The devil king of the sixth heaven has roused the 10 kinds of troops, and in the midst of the sea of suffering of birth and death is at war with the votary of the Lotus Sutra to stop him from taking possession of and to wrest away from him. Top of page 124. This impure land where both ordinary people and sages dwell. It has been 20 or more years now since I found myself in that situation and began the great battle. to propagate the mystic law. Not once have I thought of retreat. From WND2, page 465. Continuing with President Keita's lecture, on page 124, first column. The struggle of Kosen-rufu to free all living beings from the sea of sufferings is a fierce battle against the troops of the devil king of the sixth heaven, he says. Nichiren experienced an unending series of life-threatening hardships and persecutions. He fought them intrepidly, never relaxing his guard for a moment. In his later years, he calmly said, despite the personal interference of the devil king of the sixth heaven, it is because the heavenly deities came to my aid that I survived even the Tatsunokuchi persecution and emerged safely from other great persecutions. By now, the devil king must be thoroughly discouraged. Continuing, page 124, first column, at the bottom. In other words, he's saying that the devil king of the sixth heaven has been forced to accept defeat. Nichiren's towering struggle as an indomitable lion king, which struck fear into the forces of the devil king, inspired assistance from the heavenly deities, the protective forces of the universe, allowing him to emerge triumphant even during the Tatsunokuchi persecution. Second column, page 124. Excuse my snippets. Nichiren Daishonen's disciples are a gathering of champions, each one of them having inherited the spirit of this great lion king. He instructs them sternly, none of you who declare yourselves to be my disciples should ever give way to cowardice. In light of this, our people's movement, based on the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is characterized by the powerful solidarity shared by fearless champions. Standalone faith is what makes the unshakable unity of many in body, one in mind possible. This true unity isn't possible if we have the passive or irresponsible attitude to leave all the hard work to others, thinking that it's not our concern and that someone else will take care of it. Responding to the Daishonen's words, I entrust you with the propagation of Buddhism in your province. We each need to stand up in the place or community where we are right now. Mr. Toda's wish was to build an independent and an indestructible bastion of the people that would remain undefeated by any onslaught of the devilish nature of authority. That would remain undefeated by any onslaught of the devilish nature of authority. July 17, 1957, bottom of page 124, second column. July 17, 1957 is a day I will never forget. It was on this day that I was released after 2 weeks in police detention following my arrest on false charges. That evening, amid a fierce rainstorm that seemed to express the outrage of the heavenly deities, an event called the Osaka Rally was held at Nakanoshima Civic Hall to protect the unjust actions of the authorities. What came to be known as the Osaka Incident was a case of government oppression aimed at the Soka Gakkai. The authorities targeted me, President Keita, seeing that I was the unifying force for our members in the Kansai region, with the intent of using my arrest as a stepping stone to indicting Mr. Toda. Normally, this would have been enough to destroy an organization. But when the authorities launched their vicious attack on the Gakkai, the mentor and disciples of Soka, especially our mentors, especially our members in Osaka, ordinary people committed to truth and justice, remained fearless and unperturbed. Mr. Toda sincerely praised the unity of the Kansai members, middle of page 125, first column. Mr. Toda sincerely praised the unity of the Kansai members who chanted and stood up to fight against this injustice together. They didn't regard this incident as someone else's problems, but were outraged as if they themselves were under attack. Mr. Toda said to me with firm conviction, Kansai will become stronger and stronger, and indeed it has. And now, in accord with Mr. Toda's ardent wish, invincible golden citadels of many in body, one in mind have been built not only in Kansai, but all throughout Japan and around the world. This makes me truly happy. Actualizing worldwide Kosen-rufu through our network of bodhisattvas of the earth. Page 125 at the bottom of the first column. With my inauguration as third Soka Gakkai president, the age of worldwide Kosen-rufu began in earnest. First, one pioneering champion of the mystic law, and then another appeared in this country and that territory. They all awakened to their mission for Kosen-rufu, took action to share Buddhism with others, and went on to help one person after another do the same. Our members in some countries and territories had to endure long winters of adversity in advancing Kosen-rufu. But the harsher the conditions they faced, the more magnificent the actual proof of victory they have demonstrated in society. For instance, I was unable to visit Brazil for 18 years because it was under a military dictatorship. Also in South Korea and Taiwan, places that had suffered under Japanese military rule before and during World War II, our members faced repeated difficulties because of deeply entrenched misunderstandings and prejudices in those societies. However, tenaciously surmounting all trials and tribulations by solidly uniting in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, our members there have built truly wonderful organizations of global citizens that are models for the rest of the world. When I met with SGI members in Nepal, the birthplace of Shakyamuni, I urged them to make harmony their first, second, and third priority. In an organization where the members are united in purpose and advance together in harmony, there is hope, happiness, and victory. Our members in Cote d'Ivoire and other nations in Africa, the continent of hope, are also continuing to make beautiful progress, rallying together with the mottos Itai Doshin, many in body, one in mind, and Victory, victory. Many in body, top of page 126, can also be expressed as diversity. In a discussion with SGI USA Culture Department representatives in August 1992, I said that uniformity leads to despotism and dictatorship, and that Nichiren Buddhism and the SGI celebrate diversity and creativity and creatively put it to positive use. I said that uniformity leads to despotism and dictatorship, and that Nichiren Buddhism and the SGI celebrate diversity and creatively put it to positive use. Metaphors such as an orchestra or a salad bowl have been used to describe culturally diverse societies. In an orchestra, a diverse collection of instruments, each with its own unique sound, works together to produce a beautiful symphony. A rich variety of colorful vegetables in a salad bowl make for a vibrant harmony. These metaphors for a society in which various different individuals coexist harmoniously. These are metaphors for a society in which various different individuals coexist harmoniously. In fact, middle of page 126, first column. In fact, the rich diversity of the SGI in multi-ethnic and multicultural societies around the world is one of the features of our organization that has attracted the attention and admiration of thinkers everywhere. It is therefore no exaggeration to say that the SGI, whose very heart is unity and diversity, embodies the ideal of a truly global society. Wherever our network of confident, self-reliant SGI members spreads throughout the world, the path of value creation for happiness opens wide, and the music of peace and hope resounds. Such a wonderful age we have now entered. Top of page 126, second column. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas praise our noble members. Who, at this time in the latter day of the law, has been carrying out the widespread propagation of the mystic law, the teaching for the enlightenment of all people? Who, in actual fact, has plunged into the midst of those who are suffering and has been imparting the light of hope for a brighter future to those around them out of a wish to help them dispel the darkness of despair? Who, while struggling with their own difficulties, has been reaching out warmly to support others who have problems and persevering in dialogue to help them draw forth the courage and energy to lead vibrant, positive lives? who has been tirelessly encouraging people throughout Japan and around the world, confidently telling them, now is the time to transform your karma. Let's chant together and strive our hardest. Winter always turns to spring. You can overcome this suffering and become happy without fail. It is none other than our noble members, bottom of page 126, second column. It is none other than our noble members. It is none other than the SGI, a gathering of bodhisattvas of the earth. It is none other than us, the members, the mentors and disciples of Soka. Lifespan, the Lotus Sutra 16th chapter says, I am always here preaching the law. In other words, the eternal Buddha is always here in the Sahe world, expounding the mystic law. This idea is made a reality by the presence of the SGI, which is dedicated to realizing the vow for Kosen-rufu. This is also the significance of the SGI as the organization that accords with the Buddha's will. The SGI is the true Buddhist Sangha, harmonious community of believers of our times. This is why Mr. Toda said that in future Buddhist scriptures, the Soka Gakkai would be referred to as Soka Gakkai Buddha. Without a doubt, Nichiren Daishonin and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 existences of past, present, and future are exclaiming, excellent, excellent, in praise and delight at the tremendous strides we of the SGI have made and continue to make in advancing worldwide Kosen-rufu, middle of page 127, first column. Mutual encouragement and harmonious progress. At the beginning of this year, 2014, I asked that a calligraphy I had inscribed of one of my mentor's poems many years earlier be shown to the members of at the headquarters leaders meeting in January, which marked the start of the year of opening a new era of worldwide Kosen-rufu. The same poem is also engraved on a monument that graces the northern courtyard of the Hall of the Great Vow for Kosen-rufu in Shinnomachi, Tokyo, which is the Daiseido. This inscription, the journey to propagate the mystic law is long. Let us encourage each other and advance together. Continuing page 127, second column. We, the mentors, plural, and disciples, plural, of Soka, live out our lives together, struggle together, and strive to fulfill the great vow of Kosen-rufu together, eternally throughout the 3 existences of past, present, and future. Our hearts forever one. We are all comrades who share the same purpose, confronting the fundamental sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and struggling to attain happiness for ourselves and others. For that reason, the SGI is a group whose members encourage and support one another. It is a group whose members study together and inspire one another. It is a group whose members strive to overcome obstacles together and achieve mutual growth. I am always thinking of our incredibly noble members in an area affected by the March 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami who have been working tirelessly to bring people together, impart courage and hope, and illuminating the way to recovery. That's a barge going by, sorry for the noise. We're almost done. The light, second column, page 127, the light of reconstruction and happiness now shines ever more brightly as they press steadily forward with a fearless, invincible spirit. That light continues to spread and brighten the lives of all those around them. Our members in other parts of the world also shine as lights of hope for those around them, while facing all manner of personal difficulties. They continue to encourage, page 128, members and friends and wage an indomitable struggle for Kosen-rufu. In the future, too, on into eternity, we of the SGI will continue to advance based on faith, united in the beautiful spirit of many in body, one in mind, warmly supporting and encouraging one another, no matter what tempests may lie ahead. We will continue our journey of courage and hope together, fearing nothing. And we got to do this whether President Keita is around or not. That is the way to realize the worldwide propagation of the mystic law. It is also the way toward a global society that resounds with songs to life and humanity. I am confident that the day will come when a beautiful unity, I am confident, first column, page 128, middle. I am confident that the day will come when the beautiful unity of the SGI, a gathering of ordinary people striving together in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is etched in the triumphant history of the human race as the most exceptional of accomplishments. The dawn of a new age of the people has already begun through the united efforts of our network of bodhisattvas of the earth around the globe. Second column, 128. With the deepest gratitude to my beloved SGI Youth Division members and future division members, the emissaries of tomorrow, as well as my dear men's and women's division members, the most trusted members of our Soka family, for being able to share with you this May 3rd filled with victory, glory, and hope. And this weekend we will finish the one-eyed turtle and floating log. Thank you, thank you, thank you.